YouTube comments from a video titled, Gen Alpha Can't Read and Teachers Are FEDUP. Part 2.
Jeffrey Linehan, HB7ZQ wrote,
My mom was an older parent, had me in her 40s. She read to me. She simply read to me. My dad would mail me a box of books sometimes. I was reading before elementary school.
Three Shefford Sandamut wrote,
The United States is the only civilized country that has zero mandated employee rights like parental leave. There is no access to childcare, and on top of that, most parents have to work multiple jobs today because literally nothing is affordable. Parents do not have the resources they need. It's not that talked about because people are worried about how they are going to put food on the table, how they are going to pay for utilities, housing, and gas. Parents do not have time to read to their kids. They barely have time to get from job A to job B. I'm going out on a limb here and guessing. You don't have kids, do you? So easy to judge and look at the situation narrow-mindedly when you aren't facing a crashing economy while being a working poor parent.
Manturo Q wrote,
The problem is not catering to students' needs but to their wants. Big difference. I think we need to start the conversation on remediation because there's so much content on what's wrong and not enough on how do we solve this?
Keith Early 6973 wrote,
Let them be like Jethro Bodine from the Beverly Hillbillies, 30 years old and in the 6th grade. Hold them back if they can't read or do math. You teachers are doing a big disservice to America by pushing idiots out to do the job of just living.
Eliobi wrote,
I would guess that a large portion of parents that send their infants and toddlers to daycare/preschool also rely on the caregivers in those spaces to do a lot of the heavy lifting for potty training. There are probably larger numbers of kids who are kindergarten age now that were at home instead of in daycare or preschool because of the pandemic. These stories may seem shocking, but we should our best to meet them with compassion and not so much disdain and judgment.
Stributz 1784 wrote,
Grateful to be able to homeschool. My 8-year-old reads very well and actually enjoys reading. I thought it was going to be hard to teach him. Started teaching him at 4 and was proud that I was able to do it without depending on the school system.
At which Sister wrote,
I truly believe that most parents didn't teach 8NK consciously about having and raising kids. They just $sced and just birthed. I hope their parents have plans for financially supporting these kids when they're grown.
At Linda Harmon U5J wrote,
The pandemic really impacted this age group. They didn't get the basics that they needed. I was an educator, but had retired a few years before the pandemic. I had to help my grandson a lot to keep on track during that time, and he is at age level. I worked with preschool SP, edition 3 to 5-year-olds, for several years, and I had very few kids who were not potty trained except kids who were severely impacted. These parents are not taking the time to do this. The average kindergarten teacher has no time to potty train. They don't even have the time to teach the non-academic skills that they end up working on anyway.
A GSP4 Prez wrote,
One of my twin boys taught himself how to read at 3-1/2. My other twin struggled, but is at grade level. My daughter is above grade level. We also have time and extra money to help them. No one is discussing the difficulty of making a living right now and time pressures on parents. But hey, let's just talk crap and not try to help the situation.
At Monta Middleton 9318 wrote,
Pooping in a diaper at age 6 is why nobody has any shame. I would be humiliated as a parent to send a child to kindergarten wearing a diaper.
A Granivore wrote,
Simple answers.
No kid who isn't potty trained allowed into kindergarten. Fail the children who don't read at grade level and who don't know the math, etc. And reward the teachers for doing the right thing and speaking up about what level the child is actually at.
At Nighthawk 2845 wrote,
My daughter learned how to read and potty train all by herself. She's very stubborn and would not let me potty train her. And yay, it might make me sound awful, but she learned how to read from video games and me putting subtitles on the TV. And yes, I read to her.
At Bill 91190 wrote,
This is on the completely failed state of decay that is our education system. Dismantle it. Replace it. I advocate for a return to Montessorian system in our public schools. It is also due to a rapid hyperevolution of the written form of the English language, when everything is being corrected by spelling everything to accurately reflect the phonetics of words in our language.
At Aster 0 and Willow WXRLD wrote,
Electronics should be extremely regulated for children. They shouldn't be able to even access the unlimited internet. They need to create a separate internet space specifically for minors. Only let this have personal electronics for school use, only used at school. Phones should be given to teenagers and teenagers only after they've taken class on protecting themselves online, safe online usage, and to not be susceptible to everything they see online. We have seen what unlimited internet access and high-powered devices do to children. People don't want to parent. By 2 years old, they always shove an iPad in their face and legit let the damn thing do the rest.
At Ice Queen 6347 wrote,
I would have to say it's not just about growing up, it is. However, for parents that didn't get handed electronics in the crib, we would like to be able to keep up. It feels like your kid electronically is smarter than you. Not in life, of course, but this divide is crashing together in a not good way. I read to my children, all three read. Can they write? No, in grade school they no longer taught cursive or type and some other curriculum's life skills. You say, I'm going to P with homework. Your kid says that's not how teacher wants it done. It's all so different. I know how to get to the destination. The kids have a road. I have a road that leads to the same place, but somehow we can't understand each other. Not every parent gives up.
At Leslie Russell 8557 wrote,
In Scotland, schools will say the school has to be ready for the child, not vice versa. Children start school at age 5. The result is ever-increasing numbers arriving at school still in nappies. It is shocking.
And Val Stillwell wrote,
As a small business consultant, we've been sounding the alarm for the last 2 generations. No one listened. The teachers' union is responsible for this. This dumbing down is purposeful.
At Adult 28 wrote,
China knew what TikTok was going to do. It was deliberate. It's to dumb down American society. You have to question why China doesn't allow TikTok to be utilized there, or to be downloaded. It's a psyop. And they knew dumb America would fight each other over its legitimacy.
At Adult 28 wrote,
625 threatened his life because the parents can't regulate their own emotions. And they take it as a dig at them, which is ultimately is. Just children in adults' bodies trying to game the system for having children. But they forgot they have to actually care for the child, instead of collecting a check every month. It's sickening.
At Little Modeman wrote,
Teachers have been passing kids to make them look good for years, and it's just now starting to catch up with them. This is definitely not new, because I'm a victim.
At Jermaine Turner 22 wrote,
I'm a millennial dad, and I potty trained my son by the time he was 1.5 years old. My BM hated that I had my son well prepared before kindergarten. Teachers are a part of the village, but to potty training kids is not in a teacher's salary.
Adam Stuck Again 5610 wrote,
Not potty training your child if they're able to is just punishing yourself through cost and time. I didn't want to change diapers any more than I had to.
Fred Simons K1Q wrote,
The sad part is that this is a deliberate, systematic destruction of our education system for money. Our politicians wanting to send taxpayer money to for-profit charter schools instead of listening to their constituency parents and teachers. Hopefully, someday we vote at our own best interests and really look at candidates' history instead of their false verifiable promises.
Ed Everetta Wildey wrote,
Nah, we do care. We won't have PRN libraries. Sorry, banning garbage is baseline. Clap your hands at someone else. It's disingenuous to call it just burning books.
Ed Joe User 633 wrote,
It's 100% on the parents. Just try to hold back a failing student in any grade and see how the parents react. No concern that their kids are illiterate, but don't inconvenience the parents. The kids are the teacher's problem from 8 to 3, while there is not a single book in their house. Math is too hard and you'll never use it. We have spell check now, so who needs spelling? You get what you put in, and they are putting in nothing.
At Ordinary Girl 1127 wrote,
What parent doesn't make sure their kid can read? One who is too addicted to their phone and iPad, of course. They're too focused on themselves and others on the internet. My parents' attention span got worse, and they don't pay attention to me like they used to. I see when they're ignoring me while they're on their devices. It's disappointing. We don't eat or do anything together as a family anymore. They're in the living room on their things, and I'm in my room and my brother is in his. The parents hand the kids phones and iPads so they can be online posting and liking things and shopping. Social media has ruined life.
As Sylvia Calderon 2180 wrote,
I know there are a lot of shit parents out there, but I think we need to talk about the declining standards the schools have. We live in a good school district, and the expectations from my first son to my second son is grossly different. My second son did not have spelling tests, did not have to memorize multiplication table in 3rd grade, and didn't have to write paragraphs every week like my first son did. There's 2 PO and T5 years difference between them. These are all things I knew to do because of my first son and what standards and expectations were for him. Let's also talk about the wasted 3 to 4 weeks of standardized testing every year our kids have. That is a lot of downtime that they are not learning. The No Child Left Behind is another issue, as I have had friends say their kids say school doesn't matter because they will go through anyways. This is a multifaceted problem.
Kick Shins wrote,
Ultimately, teachers and the Board of Education chose EduTech and what would and would not be taught to kids in that environment. It was the Board of Education (ETC) that claimed prematurely mainstreaming special needs kids was the least restrictive and all-inclusive approach that was best for all. All for granta and budget school systems chose to stay broken. Instead of admitting their current priorities were based on pushing new methods for a buck and ejecting basic neuro/childhood development known facts. The school system intentionally evolved parents out of schools and then blamed parents when schools didn't chose to raise in-house cultitude of teachers versus parents and evolve their student bodies as victims needing privacy from their over-demanding parents. Only schools can teach kids how to behave in their environment, unless, like church, going to allow parents to be present in class to consistently apply the same rules that keep the child on appropriate behavior at home. schools taking in too many ESL at lower income and low middle class areas. Mismanaged budgets that require creating new problems in order to pick up slack of the mismanaged budgets. The war marketing push at teachers of how they are so overworked for 9 months of salary, poor special people, when reality is they have just as many lazy, no cope dopes, mentally ill, wrong personalities projecting dysfunction at sea among their adult staff as every other industry. Have young teachers acting too casual, dress leak they're going to the club, or the whole dyed hair tattooed from head to toe in that unexpected preschool to 6th teach great edgy teacher, open-minded fake personas, and masks of poor relationship skills, using school to erama bond with fellow teachers. On and on. Parents were pushed out when they did the whole no homework. Not fair to less privileged kids who have dumb parents or no parent to help be. S was started. So much waste. The folks of history who built this first world nation learned the basics and had less school supplies at sea than our industry of education has now demanded. Greed and division, along with egos of way to many teachers below the age of 40 who believe all parents are dumb and how special teachers are, is exhausting.
Fran R8Z1B wrote,
Our current culture glorifies careers for women. They are also expected to have kids. At the end of a long day at work, they are tired. When we are tired or exhausted, we don't have the patience needed for overwork.
Kevin Arnett 8590 wrote,
In Ohio, where I live, your kid can't go to daycare or school if your kid's not potty trained. If you're not potty trained by 5 or 6, your parents need to be removed out the child's life.
At Brenda Levesque 6384 wrote,
Children are less likely to see their adults reading, even if it's from cookery books or a newspaper. Children who always travel by car are less likely to notice or have pointed out to them the writing all around them, egg road names and road signs. I also think there's an element of parents who work all the hours to live. They have little time or energy for their children, much as they'd like to.
Clarice Rock in that bow wrote,
One teacher made a point on a video. She said her students don't know their own names. The parents called the kid little man or Bubba or princess instead of their actual names. She begged parents to use the name on their birth certificates so the child would know what their names are, because that's the name on their roster. One parent actually told the teacher, just call him Cosmo. He likes that name. The teacher couldn't believe it. Another teacher told me that she would groan whenever she saw a first name that was very complicated to say, with apostrophes and odd spellings or pronunciations. One teacher on a video said she had twin boys in her class. The parents named Lucifer and Satan. She couldn't call them that, so she asked them what nickname they'd like. This is before the trans thing, instead. It's so sad. Teachers are not the kid's parent. Parent your kid or don't have them.
Clarice Rock in that bow wrote,
One teacher made a point on a video. She said her students don't know their own names. The parents called the kid little man or Bubba or princess instead of their actual names. She begged parents to use the name on their birth certificates so the child would know what their names are, because that's the name on their roster. One parent actually told the teacher, just call him Cosmo. He likes that name. The teacher couldn't believe it. Another teacher told me that she would groan whenever she saw a first name that was very complicated to say, with apostrophes and odd spellings or pronunciations. One teacher on a video said she had twin boys in her class. The parents named Lucifer and Satan. She couldn't call them that, so she asked them what nickname they'd like. This is before the trans thing, instead. It's so sad. Teachers are not the kid's parent. Parent your kid or don't have them.
Adraki 526X4 wrote,
Current teacher that is leaving the profession at the end of the year after 7 years in. For a few reasons. One, I am completely and utterly stressed because I am going through a divorce and all my principal could say was literally man up. So that means my mental well-being is not valued. So fine, I'll just quiet quit and at the end of the year when my contract is up, I'll dip. To the potty training thing, I am going through it. I haven't changed any diapers. I have a teaching assistant and a couple paraprofessionals, thankfully, that take care of that. 3 IEPs. They are putting kids in the classroom that in all honesty shouldn't be there. They have meltdowns to the point where the classroom has to be cleared while they throw their fit, and we have to let it happen. It's hindering the learning for other students. 4, I want to be heavily involved in my son's life and ensure that he will not have such issues such as him reading at grade level or higher. He's potty trained, etc. When he starts school, he's 2. I will not put his teachers through what I'm going through. My child will not add to their stress. In order to educate my son, I need to be mentally well, and if I'm still doing all this, I can't be 110% for my son.
Jonathan Amazi wrote,
My best friend, now deceased, was a master teacher in Flint, MI, and told me many horror stories. 6th grade students only able to do 2nd grade math, pressure from administration to pass them even though they don't know the material.
And No Clippin wrote,
Don't need to educate your kids well when you can import immigrant labor and nobody is having kids anymore anyway. They'll just live their life on government assistance, never contributing until society collapses.
Kevmac 1230 wrote,
Prior to the start of the school year, the administration can hold a meeting for parents explaining the minimum requirements parents must adhere to. A document is given to each one to be signed. Those not attending would be giving said document by registered mail. No excuses. Minimal parenting is a demand, not an option.
Irma Momsolo wrote,
So past generations of teachers have been able to educate students with the curriculum that our government deems appropriate until this generation. Now, teachers are unable to do so, but still get online and gripe about not being paid enough, even though they have their pensions when they retire, and even though they get more days off than any other profession that I can think of outside of politics. Teachers should be paid by their job performance. Maybe then we will see results.
Emges Hart wrote,
Who are these kindergartners that are not potty trained? What is wrong with their parents? Those kids should have been potty trained by the time they were 2 or 3.
Mlavmo wrote,
Kindergarten students no longer have to be potty trained to come to school, and not just the kids with medical reasons. Recess can no longer be denied to students as a form of discipline/behavior correction. Students are no longer placed on suspension. It's racist, don't you know? Students can have months of multiple tardy/absences without parents being held accountable. Students don't read since they spend multiple hours on iPads reading, playing video games/watching videos behind the teacher's back. Writing is a reciprocal skill that informs and strengthens reading. Writing curricula is weak, also. Children grow into the intellectual life around them. The infusion into the schools of the current thing happening in society has dumbed down about the only place where many students might have a chance at receiving anything approaching an intellectual life. We are literally living in late Rome.
Arius BLK wrote,
I tell you why. All this shite started with FCKN Hillary Clinton and the jailing of parents for disciplining their children. The state-sponsored attack upon parentage, masculinity, and fatherhood in the home.
J. Korn 4719 wrote,
Students complaining that deadlines or grading criteria are unfair is nothing new. I was teaching college in the 80s and 90s, and the problem was not reduced attention spans or lack of soft skills. It was that universities started marketing themselves to students as consumers so that students saw professors as employees they had hired to give them good grades.
J. Presley wrote,
Wait. Who is responsible for teaching students to read? Who is responsible for controlling the classroom? Sounds like teachers are bitching about a problem they created.
At Heidest 8925 wrote,
Imagine Gen Beta. Reading is the answer. Learn to read, then read, read, and read. Exercise your mind and your imagination. Why let someone else create your own reality?
At X. Me, Maria, X wrote,
My brother was born in the first year of Gen Alpha, and his class knows how to read. They read fast, and as a normal person. The problem isnot professors orany other. The problem is your school system. My school system here in Moldova isn't that rich, but teaches many things.
At Philisambenvizo 6641 wrote,
Doesn't matter. In 2 years, we will all be locked in. AI will have taken over all the jobs. No one is working. The government control takeover will eliminate teachers, doctors, lawyers, all human jobs. So there is actually no need to read or write at that point. The government will do it all for you. Problem solved. Just like they planned.
Famulin 5609 wrote,
These new parents want school staff to do all the work of raising their kids. No, you couldn't pay me to become a teacher now or work in schools. That is ridiculous to demand school staff to raise their children. They are not babysitters, they are working in education.
At Susatem Clacklin 8765 wrote,
Who is surprised they can't read anymore? Screens have replaced books. Screens promote passivity, removing the effort one has to put into reading, even reading fiction, which requires the constant activation of one's imagination. Most childhood reading was initially stimulated by parents reading to them and providing enjoyable books, resulting in the child doing the majority of their reading of fiction at home rather than at school. Something happening less frequently today.
KMF3 wrote,
What the heck, what 5-year-old is not potty trained? A diaper at 5 years old? What 2-year-old is not potty trained yet? Are you kidding me?
At Avitoth wrote,
Oh, Mr. Content Creator, do not insult boomers. Do not blame boomers for this. I am a boomer, and when my children were in school, this was unheard of. When my Gen X kids had their own kids, they were potty trained by the age of 2. Don't be randomly throwing blame. This is a new failure of parenting. Ask yourself why. Because kids don't want to sit on the potty. In gentle parenting, children are not ever told no. Add people moving away from their family, the elder support group isn't there to say your child is 3 and 10. The excuses of 1. I didn't have time. 2. I didn't know how. 3. I read a book that said not to pressure them, they will figure it out by 5. Those are neglect. Why aren't the doctors they visit not commenting on the diaper on a 4-year-old? Public schools need to adopt and publish rules stating that 5-year-olds with no underlying physical illness must be potty trained. Anyone attempting to enroll a healthy, not potty trained child in any grade will be reported to CPS. Potty training isn't hard, just repetitious. Your child needs to know how to control themselves by staying in one place because you say so.
At Noter Business 2970 wrote,
It would help if they put phonics back into the classroom. My nephew is being told to stop sounding out words and look at the pictures. He's 7.
At Bino Dist wrote,
Are those parents who don't bother to read to their kids or help them with their homework the same ones who are running to the school to defend their perfect little darling when that child has sworn at a teacher or thrown a desk or beaten up another kid?
At Bonnie7684 wrote,
I'm really surprised that the child doesn't feel embarrassed. I raised 5 kids, and I know if they had an accident, say on the playground, they'd cry and get really upset.
A Scrolling Around wrote,
I wonder if the parents that need to see these are the ones who do. Or if these videos only find victims of neglected parents that are ringing alarms going ignored.
At Andrea Swimmer 6864 wrote,
It's not that complicated. Whatever happened to a failing grade and having to repeat a year? Becoming a ridiculed dumbass being left behind should be enough motivation for any student to put in the work. For hundreds of years, schools were able to teach children to read, do math. Maybe our teachers aren't what they used to be.
Chloe Brown H1T wrote,
My child is Gen Alpha, homeschooled and could read from age 4, we are Australian, and do very minimal screen time. We eat organic, cook from scratch, and avoid Western medicine, and hang out with other like-minded families. Think it make a huge difference.
A DOS News Network wrote,
I know several teachers who went to a private or charter school and love it. Their admins actually will kick the bad kids out and back them. If I had to go back into teaching, I would go to a charter school big time.
MCoop69 wrote,
Those books that poor guy bought for his class will probably be full of disrespectful scribbling of D1Ks and 6-7. It's not even far-fetched to think that these days.
Callard13 wrote,
I am late Gen X with a Gen Alpha kid 45 and 5. I raised him how I was raised, reading to him since birth and doing math together by cooking his meals together from the moment he could stand. When it was time for kindergarten this year, I actually had to pull him from the system and put him in a group homeschool environment so we could skip a grade because he was reading basic Dr. Seuss books and could write and do some fractions from cooking, and I was told kindergarten would be about learning the alphabet and how to count to 10. This is ridiculous. We were expected to know more by this age. Why aren't they? If my child is ever watching TV, it is learning to read shows. When he is rarely on an iPad, it is learn to read or do math games. Why is this so hard? If you get tired and need to give them screen time, make it educational. We had reading Rainbow and Sesame Street while our parents ignored us, and we are fine. Play outside, use your imagination. It's really not that hard, people.
At Minimize Joe 123 wrote,
I made sure my kids knew how to read before they entered kindergarten. We started as toddlers. It is not the school's responsibility to do it all. Schools should introduce ideas, and parents should expand that idea at home. It's a cooperative.
A Canyon 2023 wrote,
Teachers have been failing at their own jobs, graduating students at every grade level who cannot read, write, and do math. They are failing at their own jobs, which is what they are being paid to do. Students are starting college without knowing how to read, write, and do math. How did that happen? Who is passing them along? Teachers refuse to take responsibility for their own catastrophic failures year after year. A $70 book doesn't matter when they fail to teach kids how to read that book. Teachers say, I tried. But then they fail. They are contributing to the dumbing down of our society and lowering their personal standards, if they even had standards to begin with.
At Edaub 757 wrote,
A lot of single moms have checked out, and not just the young moms, some older moms. These are parents who are focused on themselves and social media.
At William Bucklear 3227 wrote,
In 10th grade 1988, for my English class, sorry, are we allowed to say that? We had to do English lessons 5 days a week, learn 25 new vocabulary words per week, write a 300-word paper per week, and 4 book reports per year. And that was a standard public school regimen, not advanced placement.
Tarstarchus wrote,
Since when does kindergarten involve reading, writing, or arithmetic? When I was in kindergarten in 1974, it was finger painting and drawing and learning to exist in the setting. It was only 1/2 a day, and for only 1/2 the year.
At user dr5ps1vh2q wrote,
Tell me they can't make an app that rewards kids while teaching them to read without them even knowing it's happening. The fact this doesn't exist means the powers that be want dull sheep. You're all just batteries and happy with that? Even giving cash prizes for achieving levels is way cheaper than the society you'd have in 15 years from all the illiteracy.
At user dr5ps1vh2q wrote,
Need a license to cut hair, but anyone can have kids, even those with no clue or intent to help the kid grow and prosper. DNA testing done before birth cert is signed in some states now. Mandatory parenting classes may be next. At least force them to understand the younger the kid, the more they absorb. If you don't help them when they're young, you are in danger from them when teens. If you don't want their future to be prison, at least do a little to help them avoid that future.
At the Reaper 1321 wrote,
Honestly, I don't think there's much anyone can do if the parents aren't willing to work with their own kids. And expect the teachers to do everything when the kids aren't willing to learn. What can anyone do at that point? The only thing I can think of is banning phones, tablet from schools worldwide, and they should enforce it if any kid bring any phones. Tablets at sea to school, the teachers would have the right to take it from them the rest of the year. And make sure the Board of Education is also enforcing that point, and if parents come wanting the phone, tablet, or whatever back, make them pay some type of fine, because at that point they will be breaking the law. It's harsh, I know, but it's an idea. But the problem would still be at home with the parents because they don't care either, and that's a harder issue. Maybe they should also remove the No Child Left Behind thing. Maybe that will encourage parents to work with their kids. The parents will possibly get tired of seeing their kid keep getting held back, and maybe then they will be willing to work with the teacher to help their kid improve and pass. With the no phone, tablets at sea ban being enforced, with the teacher taking the phones and making parents pay a fine to get them back, and getting rid of the no student left behind thing, I feel like it might work. I don't know, but I think it would be worth a shot. Yeah, there will be a lot of upset parents, but the kids have to learn for the sake of their future.
At Zwile Alavatar wrote,
We are going backwards as society. Children not being able to read now is like it used to be generations ago. Unfortunately, it may be the new norm as history repeats itself. All past societies in the history of the earth have fallen. The power will probably go out someday and not come back on again for generations, as with the internet.
At Gwen Fry 464 wrote,
This is just another example of the growing atmosphere the last decade or almost two of people being encouraged to let go of almost all responsibility and pass it over to so-called experts or authorities. Now you hear of schools giving underage children sex change operation. You have to see it's all one thing. A dumbing down of society so that certain groups can take over not just society by changing social norms, but creeping into our society until our country is unrecognizable. Those who try to fix it are labeled some kind of phobia. I say claim your phobia and fix this country.
At Joe 871100 wrote,
The irony is this video is attempting to take a very important seriously, yet willfully dodging the most important issue. It isn't generalized as Gen Alpha. It's a particular culture and particular group of kids that are causing the majority of the problem, and the problem starts at home.
At Lelendregalato 8812 wrote,
My wife and I are spending thousands a year on private education, and we are still picking up teaching phonics and writing at home almost every day. If you care about your child's future, it is up to you as a parent to put in the work as well.
At Alex___000A wrote,
Bro, the fact over 50% of US adults can't read even to a 6th grade standard blows my mind. Literally have turned into the land of the fat and stupid.
At ImanCU50 wrote,
I was born in 1980. While I can read just fine, I always hated reading and didn't like school at all ever since my first day. I couldn't pay attention or sit still on those hard chairs all day. I never disrupted class though. I just was miserable inside the whole time. What I find unbelievable with the schools now is the amount of students that disrupt class and fight the teachers. Nobody is learning anything if the teachers have to deal with constant disruptions and students having zero respect or accountability for their actions.
At Lowerview wrote,
I am at university with 3 kids, 2 of whom could read beautifully before school at 4. The youngest struggles a bit, but I read every night, and he reads a small book each night. Child development must be taught in school. Why do we not understand that most people have children with no idea how to raise them? Fewer social workers, more super nannies. Have you seen Emma Drew's School for Naughty Boys? It is what we need much, much more of.
At Norman Farmer 6086 wrote,
Education has long been the root cause of the decline and ultimate death of Western civilization as we know it. Ignorance is the catalyst for sloth and moral decay. These kids will end up starving to death while waiting for help that will never come, as our once great and unified society will have long since faded into history.
At FunnyHandle1 wrote,
Teachers need to be paid better. And I'm not saying this because the teachers in place now are doing a good job. The opposite is true. Most of them are terrible, intelligent human beings that shouldn't be around kids at all. If we paid them more, higher quality people would more frequently become teachers. The ones currently in charge do not deserve any more than they are currently reaching. Maybe if raises were given out by performance rather than the government structure, where it's based off how many years you have been there doing the bare minimum things, wouldn't be so shitty.
At FunnyHandle1 wrote,
8-2, and here we go. It's a systemic issue. Yeah, you were the ones that changed the fooking system, which was indeed working just fine before. Reality. Some parents need to be empowered, and some parents need the opposite. Dare I say who? What schools were failing 30 years ago? What changed in the system? Why do the schools that weren't failing 30 years ago now look like the schools that were?
At FunnyHandle1 wrote,
441 Not teaching your kids sex ed should be considered neglect. Oh wait, now the schools do it, lol. The problem is, these same people also believe the state should be taking people's children if the parent does not affirm the child's mental illness.
At FunnyHandle1 wrote,
138 The same people that cheered when stripping rights away from parents? I'm only 28, and I remember these same characters talking about how we need to teach children sex ed in the classroom. Called people bigots when they said that was a conversation parents need to have. These people need to be violently realigned into reality.
At Schmidt844 wrote,
I am in the classrooms. I'm sorry to say this, but it is a huge issue. It's a huge issue. When WESAY huge, I mean so huge that scary becomes THENEW word TO describe THE future.
At KeithLightminder 3005 wrote,
1 in 4 Americans are illiterate now, and that is just in the one language spoken. I'm not sure of Spanish. Your Anton Troyer is doing great work on Ojibwe literacy. In that way, we are following your lead again, USA.
At KeithLightminder 3005 wrote,
Thank you for opening with a clip that has an American flag in it. It can be confusing for YouTube kids from other countries when they click a video and assume it means their country. I even had a parent-teacher interview where I had to explain that a video mom had seen online was not what her child was experiencing. American teachers are amazing, doing great work despite an intentionally undermined system of education. It makes no sense except looking at fascist patterns. We used to try to keep up with your progressive top-shelf educational strategies. Now Uganda pities you. We are worried that your oil company's sponsored leader will attack us and drag us down. We hope to improve to the level of Finland and Sweden, with the added wisdom of our amazing indigenous cultures, and yet some ideas spill over the border, so we have to state the obvious frequently strong education makes a healthy country. I'm trying not to send money to the USA while you threaten us, but I hope you are able as cultural workers to make a change.
Paula Nichols 5961 wrote,
That is gross neglect. Kids are to be potty trained by 2. 3 is kind of bad, but acceptable. Any older is just damn sad. It's total arrogance and completely irresponsible for parents to expect this of teachers. Plus, who wants other people involved in something so personal anyway? I don't want anybody near my kids' private areas. It's sad these new, young parents have no concept of reality, responsibility, or shame. Our poor kids.
Smoth7 wrote,
Don't say cringe, say shameful, you linguistic degenerate. Part of the problem is your speech patterns that you are unaware of. What makes us all super sad? Know that is poorly expressed. Say crestfallen.
Bob Ross 8569 wrote,
Let me fix this dumb video. Liberal ideology and policies and parents are churning out idiots that will be dominated by right-wingers who love their children. Instead of seeing them as a burden, spend time with them and teach them.
DGV Machete wrote,
Really? Wow. My Gen Alpha reads at a 6th grade level in the 3rd grade. Can't spell to save her life, but has no issues with reading or math. It's the attention span that is the problem. They just get distracted easier than we did, but that's it. Take away the tablet, put them in activity sport, church, clubs, etc. Make sure they get sunlight, sew in time with them, and if they are bad eaters, pump them with supplements. Their kids just teach them.
Made by Burgie wrote,
You gotta think it's 'cause people are struggling to provide due to low wages, high cost of living, and outworking multiple low-wage jobs. Still not a excuse, but your take that they are all too busy on TikTok and video games seems trash to me. 551.
John Doe 2523 wrote,
Teachers are the problem. Your job is to teach kids to read. These teachers have become so lazy and selfish that they know what it all has to do. Longer do their jobs. They're more interneted in pushing their gender ideology on kids than teaching them how to read and write. Do you know they don't even teach kids cursive writing anymore? Many other people started knowing. How are kids supposed to sign their names on anything when they grow up? Every one of these teachers blames social media and the internet. But look what all these teachers are doing. They're all on here posting videos on social media and the internet. Democrat fatigue.
Stefan 9483 wrote,
You know, I find the art of making a soufflé is This is so right. Smartphones are FEIG horrible. I hate them. They have fundamentally changed the way people interact. Not me. I do not have one.
Kilroy 1964 wrote,
Don't underestimate the harm done to toddlers now in elementary school by COVID masks and lockdowns. They lost social skills and IQ points. This has to be a contributing factor.
At Stephen Mason 5682 wrote,
I enjoyed reading to my two girls in bed, and they loved to too. Sometimes I was so tired after work I also fell asleep, but I never missed the pleasure of seeing them snuggled up and sleeping soundly.
At ThisGuy0420 wrote,
While they look at Gen Z in college, not knowing what a woman is, and you expect them to go to school and think they are there to learn.
At Lana Theobald N6Q4X wrote,
The cost of diapers is $45 or more for a large box. At that price, I would be potty training as soon as possible. Who has that kid of money to throw away in this economy?
At Greta Cook 4612 wrote,
You have failed as a parent if your child cannot read by the time they start school. A child that loves to read will be highly intelligent and gifted as an adult.
At Brian McClelland 1370 wrote,
Stop calling them ALPA. They are far from an ALPA status. ALPAs are respected leaders by birth. And these are not leaders. They follow TikToks and other stupid trends. That is not alpha status. Beta would be more acceptable. Not hating, just saying.
At Carson Arson 8634 wrote,
I'm so glad I chose to homeschool. My 5 and 6-year-old are both ahead in math and reading compared to their cohorts. They also know what cohort means, winning.
At Azabujabin Hidodake wrote,
Meanwhile, here in Japan, I live in Tokyo. It is mandatory for first graders to learn hiragana, katakana, and kanji before learning alphabets in the second grade. And they also must take public transports to school by themselves.
At X Chromosome 24 wrote,
Yes, part of the problem is the systemic dumbing down of curriculum. However, it's because parents don't help ACA do their job that the curriculum had to be dumbed down.
At MM85761 wrote,
Oh please, I know some wealthy people who pride themselves of being intellectual and successful and at the top of the food chain, with not just one, but multiple kids all with the same issue, not potty trained at 5/6. How is it that they dedicate all that time and attention on their Insta/TikTok feeds, choosing NOT to learn about what's best for their children? But hey, they often make a point of how much money they make.
At Caden Slinker wrote,
I fear that I'm not going to be a good parent when I eventually have kids. And I'm Gen Z. I fear I am going to be a part of the reason that humanity becomes extinct.